Learn how to use export default to share a single main function from a file and how to import it without curly braces. So let's look at an example of how default export work together. Here's my boilerplate code, and I have a couple of commented out guides here. This what once they make a new file named message.js, export function message from it, import the file inside index.html, and use the function, then display the result. So I'll go ahead and make that file and call it message.js. So now that I have this message.js now, I can go ahead and make a function inside it. And this time around, I want to use arrow function. So I will call it message. And inside it, I just want to have a variable name. Let's say is age. And also I want to have a return statement. So my name is name and age years old. So I'll go back inside my HTML file and I'm going to import it. Always import at the top level of your code so that you will not run into error. So this time around, I'm going to import it without the curly brace. Message from message.js. Now I need one more dot because it's in the root folder so that I can access it. And so I can go ahead and then get the result, document.getElement by ID. I just call the function, and here something should display, but nothing is actually displaying. So let me find out what is wrong. Okay, I didn't add an export to my function, which is the reason why you can see it's giving me that error. So I'm supposed to add exports. So it's this way, or better still, I could export it underneath. So export comes to message. So I've done that and nothing is still showing. So let me see what is wrong again. There's no error. The requested module doesn't provide an export name default. Okay, because I'm exporting this way, it is not going to work because that's the module export. A default export in JavaScript is like this: export default. So you add default keyword to the statement message. So this should work now. And you can see my name is JC and I'm 65 years old. So when a file has one main job, like a single function that can create a message, as you can see here, you use export default. So it marks that item as the primary tool of the file, making it even easier to import. Now, only when you have named exports should you use curly braces. So only when you have something like this, this is an example of a named import. That is when you should use curly braces, or when you want to export multiple specific items from a file. So for a default export, do not use curly braces, or else it will throw an error. Because if you remember, initially I tried not to use this, and then I did this, then immediately everything disappeared on the screen. Now if we go check, I will revert this back. Now if we go back inside our HTML and try to use curly braces here, so let's see what is going to happen. You can see the requested module doesn't provide an export named message. So because we are not doing a name export, we are doing a default export. Even if you add curly braces to it, in the file where you are importing it, it will still not work. So when you are exporting defaults, when you are importing a default export, you don't need the curly braces around the code. Only when you are exporting a name export is when you need the curly braces. Now, if you look at the message.js JS file. So we use export default message because it is the default export. So the curly braces are completely gone because JavaScript automatically knows exactly what item to grab because it is marked as the first as the file's default choice. So this signals to JavaScript that this is the uh, file's default choice. So it knows how to interpret the meaning. Now, you may now want to ask that can a JavaScript have more than one default export? The answer is no, because a file can only have one default export. So modules can export functions, variables, objects, or classes. Export default is used for the single main feature of a file. Default as import do not use curly braces, as you can see where we are importing this, which is in our index.html file. So this is showing us that default as import, they do not use curly braces. If you add curly braces like I just demonstrated, it will not work, and instead it will throw an error that it is not a named export. So in this example, we have been able to see how the default export works in JavaScript.